Sorry for the stream disconnection. It seems there was something like that happening. Yeah, I really need to remember that. Router restart at some point. Let's take new SNG. Yeah, it seems like this guy mainly is limping. It's tough to say about his raising range, of course. Like, is it just really strong hands, or how does he construct that one? But overall, for me as middle stack, it's actually kind of good situation that he's mainly limping, because as I don't really want to build the bot anyway as middle stack, so his line overall should be mainly to race against me and try to put the pressure. I think on the top right, we want to go pretty big here. I mean, if he has a queen, he's going to call it probably anyway. So I think I go for the bot size on the river. Oh, he had aces. Wow. I suppose even shoving wouldn't have been horrible here, because I think that guy might have called it anyway. I think well, we can go either way here, but I think I maybe prefer a little bit to just check call with the 8 high type of spade. So we have some solid bluff catcher candidates. And on the top left, I think queen 9 is, we are also blocking like queen jack. Well, and there are definitely busted draws, so I think I just have to call pretty much. And upper right, we have way too good pot odds to fold, unfortunately losing against the fist here. So yeah, we have two heads ups going on, and some other games as well. And once again we are in bluff catching position. Now we actually have also flush draw completing. Of course there still are quite a lot of busted draws, but yeah, well, let's give up this time. It's also when that sort of backdoor flush draw completes, it's also a bit more likely that I have to flush myself, but I didn't. Compared to flush draw that was on the flop. Bottom left pretty dry flop, so we have some backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw, and this is actually kind of nice card to continue. We probably don't get like Jack X to fold, but we can put a lot of pressure against anything weaker basically. And obviously calling ace queen here on the upper right. And we want that one. Well, we hit the pair, but I don't expect too much showdown value, so I think this is kind of a reasonable hand to try to bluff. And at least he's not snap calling, so we might have some hope. Okay. Well, we probably run into some sort of nuts here. Some sort of nuts. Quite likely. Quite likely. And we got the shove on the top left. Well, it was kind of set up anyway, and unfortunately kings is not enough on the showdown. Yeah, I think I just check call here. I mean, that sort of flop makes it kind of awkward to have. In my opinion, much of check raising range. Also nasty. Nasty. River turn, obviously. Let's make the tables a little bit more clean. Well, we actually have one table on the outside now, so I will just call the jack for sure that we have backdoor flush draw as well, and we definitely want to have some of the top pairs in our checking range. And we actually hit combo draw. Of course, it's kind of a bad flop overall, but we also have some strong hands that we want to be betting here. So this sort of hand is, I'm not usually see betting that much on the top left type of board, but obviously we can be bluffing some type of, especially that type of hands that we are kind of happy to stack off anyway, or pretty happy. This queen 10 I will just check, because I think raising and facing the shove is going to be extremely awkward. So let's just go for the passive line, and now we have strong top pair, so I'm going to check raise it for value. We have a lot of draws we can also go for. And on the top left we are smallest stack, and this guy is the chip leader, so he can be quite active. And once again we get aces on the bottom left. And top right I will go for raise call. I suppose we could go for check raise again here, but we went on the previous end as well, so let's just fold this time. And queen deuce suited is kind of a hand that we can also go for. Shove on the top right. I kind of like more of these sort of queen x hands compared, well, this time we are actually dominated, but the good thing about that sort of hand tends to be that it's quite often not going to be dominated compared to king x hands, because it's not that often that people are going to be raise calling almost 20 pp deep with like queen 10 or something compared to king 10. So overall I don't mind that shove sometimes. So I would say that just calling is more of a standard play. It's still suited hand, so it has decent post-up potential, but at the same time when it's suited it makes decent candidate for the 3-bet shove as well. I'm pretty happy to shove here, obviously with the deuces, hoping for the fold, because it's quite tough to be good if he or like in good shape overall. We are flipping now. Luckily won't win that. So yeah. Oh, stream ended. Well, hopefully not. Maybe it's just my information, because I'm keeping the stream window open on the second screen. Well, it should be. Yeah, I really need to remember that. Reboot the router next time. Or maybe I will just do it right away after quitting this session. So. It's kind of tricky in a way, or it's kind of easy to forget. King Queen. I think I just go for open shove. It has some downside, obviously, but it's definitely plus EV. I can limp, but if he shoves, I have to fold, which is kind of awkward. If I raise small and he shoves, it's not really hand that I want to be inducing. Of course, at the same time, hand does play great post-flop, so shoving is a bit of awkward from that view. It's just that when you have these high ICM situations, it's often that the downsides of something of those other options, that if you are forced to fold pre-flop, then it's just such a big minus side. If I raise this sort of crap and face the shove, that's not a problem really. And this is kind of same type of hand that I think I just go for open shove right away. I'm just thinking about taking long ball line. At least I haven't seen fishy stuff from this guy, so I should make a lot of profits by shoving this sort of hand as well. Of course, it's always it's easy to get surprised on this side because you rarely have history. People are changing the nicknames and so on. We got €50 game started. So let's move it to main screen. I usually keep it on the second screen because you never know when it starts or if it starts. Okay, something happened here, it seems. So this guy limped. I think I just go for 3-bet here. We can then obviously stack off against the open raiser. These probably have some fold equity as well. I think this guy did show up with queen okay, king 6. Okay, so this guy called and I suppose I will go for small bet. I can stack off against this short stack if he shoves, and I have quite strong range obviously. And we hit the queen, so usually I will assume that when this guy cold calling guys are most often fishy. So I think I just go for the value swap here. He can have a lot of stuff that he really shouldn't have. Of course, sometimes he might have really big hand and we are still behind, but So be it. Let's just limp with the ace-6 on the top left, because I don't really want to stack off either if I win raise and he shoves. And pretty easy check back with the ace-6 here, and we have good showdown value. We don't get many, or maybe not even any, of the better hands to fold, so I'll just check again and go from tier. And yeah, I can't really value bet against some high hand. He can still have like some 3x, 5x, and it's more likely that he calls toast than that he's calling some king high. And something to note here, that he doesn't bluff the open-ended straight draw on the turn or the flop. So I think that implies that he's not too bluff happy guy, or semi-bluff in general. I'm just going to call here on the bottom right with my king high backdoor stuff, and now we hit the second pair, so let's call again. And now we have the best hand almost always. There are quite a few busted draws, so let's make decently sizable bet. And on the outer table, actually I think this guy was, oh yeah, he limped. Well, anyway, I have to stack off tier, and I mean with this shallow stack, I think it's best to just check shove. Queen 9. Yep, let's go with the Queen 9 against pre-flop 3, but oh well. Quite unlucky to hit the ace here. I think this guy has responded mainly by folding, and so far he hasn't actually 3-bet shoved single time, so might be the will lane that we want to just min raise most of our hands and get a lot of fold equity. Of course, this time we don't mind to get some action as well. And might be expensive in the 50 euros. Shoving is the only option here, basically. Blind versus blind, especially. Oh, he has the ace king as well. We were free rolling on the turn. Queen 4, nice shove. Nice shove. I mean, if it was suited, then yeah, that's fine, but offsuit is not going to be plus EV, that's for sure. And against 3 big blind, I will just fold here on the bottom right. Not really much going on into 50 euros so far, just lost some small pots and then had that ace king versus ace king split pot collision. Haven't played much on the full ring tables recently, but basically it's just about tightening the ranges in general from the earlier position and remembering that when the people raise from the early position, they tend to have tight ranges as well, which is of course quite obvious as default. We can bet here. I think I actually go for the bet again. Villain shouldn't have many 6x's, and we have quite a strong king ourselves, so. And this guy shoves. This is actually quite borderline. And I will actually go for check shove here, or check call. Okay, he had a high, so some showdown value. Well, I suppose we are 25 big blind deep, so we can probably give up that one. Of course, his range tends to be somewhat capped, so the problem is that I think most of the players are not shoving here with smallest pocket pairs necessarily. Yeah, that call though at least indicates that this guy doesn't like folding. So I'm not sure. I suppose he had somewhat decent pot odds. So yeah, I don't think it's necessarily absurdly bad either with those pot odds. Well, second chance with the ace king. Well, this game even more simpler. And at the bottom left, I'm not opening ace-9 off from UTG, obviously, and this guy makes 4 big blind. Scary flop. So many outs for the villain. I think I fold against the 4 big blind. It's just we are kind of deep to be check shoving. So against that sizing, if he makes it with decently wide range, we could check shove or limp shove. But we don't really have any reads about that. And I think limp calling is kind of worst option probably because it's going to be pretty expensive to call, and a6 is going to be just missing the flop so often. Well, this is again decent hand to be limping. Let's see if he raises again. Not this time. It's relatively dry flop, so let's just try to stab without really having anything. Well, lane doesn't have anything as well, majority of the time. And on the bottom left, we have nice pot odds and decently okay hand. Of course, the problem of this sort of hand in this situation is that both of the villains have a lot of hand combos that are dominating our queen jack. On the bottom right we have some showdown value, so just trying to check to showdown if possible and folding otherwise. And we lost his spot. I'm not going to bluff here, so I suppose there could be some merit in it because it looks like both of the villain has less than King X most of the time. Two pairs, wow. On the top right, it's kind of a... We don't mind to try to take the pot down, but at the same time, villain is not going to fold better hand, so I suppose it's fine either way. Most of the time he's not... Well, maybe he's folding like better King X, but I wouldn't assume that he's folding. I think I just check back here. If we bet here, we could get maybe a high to fold. But it's limp big blind range, so we should have good amount of showdown value. And yeah, I don't think he would be folding like King Queen against small c-bet. That's downside in a way that, especially that sort of hand, it's pretty tough to turn. If we c-bet the flop, it's tough to turn any turn that we really would want to be barreling that much, at least that we would turn some equity. So but here are better hands to be played in aggressive manner. Okay, we didn't get through on the top right. And like here on the bottom right, as default, we want to try to put the pressure on the mid stack. And I think I will go for... Oh, it's quite close. I suppose we can still actually raise fold it reasonably. It plays decently when we have some blocker value and so on. Yeah, I think I just bet myself. He might even check back some AX here in that stack distribution. Yeah, I think I just check back on the... Well, I don't know. We have 3-bet pre-flop, we have a lot of... I suppose it's sensible to just bet ourselves and we can fold that. Oh Jesus, that the upper right. Well, upper right. Raise call from the villain. Oh Jesus. If I remember correctly, yeah, he was raise called with the Jack 10 and I had like 13, 14 big blind or something. Quite horrible. Unfortunately lucky this time. Should have been such obvious raise fold. This hand we can definitely just call from position. We can also try to 3-bet decently wide, but I would prefer to use something weaker than that if we want to turn it into bluff. Or go for a light 3-bet. It's still going to be such playable hand from position. And especially against min raise, the pot odds are just so good. I think I just call here, it's four-way pot, so chances that I would get everyone to fold by raising are quite small, and this is obviously snap call situation on the top left. Let's hope he doesn't nail anything. And once they both check and turn is kind of a scare card, I will actually go for the... Of course it would be better to have spade. One spade in my range if possible as well, but we still tend to have a lot of fold equity. Might get some top pairs to fold as well. And also, I mean, when they made that min bet or something on the flop, it's not too likely that they have that strong of queen anyway, if they happen to have one. Well, this time we got lucky on the 10 euro game. And this is a situation that we can go again for small value bet, and we have the best hand extremely often. Like sometimes he have better AX or maybe some slow played pocket pair, but almost always we have the best hand. And this is kind of nice spot to go for semi bluff. Of course, sometimes he has better diamond himself, but hopefully not. And really dry flop on the upper right. We have nice backdoor stuff going on. I'm thinking about, I think I will go for limp here again and go for limp shove if he raises again. And well, I don't know if he would. I suppose it's not horrible combo to second barrel because we actually block decent amount of those. Like queen 10, jack 10 type of hands, but I'm just thinking that do we actually get folds from like pocket sixes or something along those lines, so I just decided to give up. And yeah, on the top left in that stack distribution, I don't usually open this sort of pretty weak holding. But it depends, like if the villains are passive, we can definitely go for it. And it's mandatory check call on the top left. If the villain second barrel here, we can let go because we don't really have that much. Like if we had, for example, 9-8, I would 9-8. Obviously, being the nuts, I would not be folding. But I mean 10-9, we would have the guts at least. And in here we have some busted flush draws at least. So let's go for bet. Hopefully he doesn't shove because that would be quite awkward. I suppose we probably have to fold at that point, but luckily not. And let's go for value raised here. Well, I suppose we can just limp. And the nasty part is if I raise this, he probably defends decently wide, and this hand is going to play so crappy post-flop overall that and I don't really mind to just check limp fold either. Yeah, queen 10 suited, I will just shove here on the upper left, but that one will be just fold. I will actually go for thin value / protection bet here. the upper right, and he had a bit better. But there is decent chance that he's going to value bet that anyway, and it's kind of nasty to check fold either. Well, second pair and backdoor flush draw, but and if I 3-bet king queen, I definitely have to stack off here. And that's the nasty part of that line. Especially when he happens to have ace king or ace queen. Well, let's limp once again. This time I would once again go for the limp shove, but it's kind of funny that every time I have gone planning for limp shove, he doesn't raise, and when I have the weaker stuff, he raises pretty much. Well, unfortunately, we don't improve to anything. 5-3. Yeah, I could have flop c-bet the flop, but it's just that he doesn't really fold anything better, at least to single bet, and we have solid showdown value, but of course that's the downside of the passive line, that we give the free draw here, a free possibility to turn some equity. Okay, it seems like, well, there is actually almost another 50 euro starting, so let's register into that one. And on the upper left, that will be just, I think, it's, well, I would have limp shoved, but I suppose we have to call that one. Well, solid line. It's so, I don't know. Like, what happens when he makes that sort of play is that, what weaker hand can I call here? That's the question. Yes, but like even if I have like strong combo draw with the ICM tags, I can't really call pretty much. So, and we lost that one. Well, I should have 3-bet that pocket nines actually. Just panicked with the time running out. Well, maybe we induce something, or so it's not ultra great situation if this guy 3-bets or something. Oh, well, I don't know, maybe I should have bet the flop and stacked off, but that was stupidly played hand wrong. Don't play like that. Should have been 3-bet pre-flop against this short stack, and that's it. I think Queen Jack is not quite strong enough on the top left as clear middle stack. And in here we are going to stack off. Of course, it's not greatest flop ever, but well, we have basically two options: c-bet stack off or check back. But I'm decently okay. We block like Jack 9 type of hand, and if he has like two pairs, we still have decent equity anyway. And let's go for lead on the top right, or yeah, it was actually raised, but well. I was thinking that it was limp spot because of the pot size and blind level, but I suppose it was actually smaller blind level still. This guy just keeps limping. Well, let's hope that he doesn't have strong hands this time. Well, he really doesn't have, but calls anyway. I don't know, completing would have been fine, obviously, as well, but I don't mind shove either, because we had hands that shouldn't be really dominated. And probably some fold equity, considering he was limping often. But yeah, that wasn't the greatest result. Be nice if it kept this grid order in the same way that it was when you click to reorganize again. Oh, we hit 2 pairs on the bottom left. And we do get the chance to check raise. But unfortunately no X. And again we had nice shoving hand, but this bottom guy goes for open limp. Okay, well, I can't really continue here with weak top pair against bet and raise. And this kind of side that I don't like in full ring games in general, that we are going to be kind of more forced upon having the good hands compared to like short-handed poker, where the ranges or the chances to play from the late position and so on are going to be a lot bigger. I suppose I have to call here with the gut shot as well. But if he bets again, I will be just folding. I don't think he's bluffing that often. Or value betting weaker hand. And he can have like pocket tens, some slow blade hands, maybe some ace jack type of hand that he decided to check on the flop and so on. For the pre-flop, I don't really like the situation that much, but I think with the suited king queen, it's totally fine hand to continue. Just calling against the smallish c-bet with the a high on dry flop. This is actually board run that I will turn my a high into bluff. It's tough for me to really have anything weaker. And we turn the trips, so time for value bet. Snap call with ace 4. It's kind of a funny line that, well, I suppose he can limp, but shoving would have been totally fine play for the villain as well. Hopefully he doesn't win that one. Yeah. Well, I don't say it's totally crazy to be shoving pocket threes here necessarily, but I mean, especially when I 3-bet from the big blind, because the thing is that I still have really cheap possibility of just overcall in that spot, so and against two people it will be somewhat less likely I will try to go for thin or sort of like 3-bets that much, so I think it's pretty optimistic still. But yeah, he can have some fold equity, so I suppose it's not horrible by any means. Or at least like extremely bad. Yeah, we are pretty close to the shoving stack depth on the MTT. Still really far from the monies. I suppose we are probably outside of the late registration area at least. Yeah, it's 12th blind level at this point. Now let's try to limp. We have pretty decently playing hand on the bottom left. Well, deuce is not really the greatest card. I will be actually betting that much on the flop, but I mean this was actually pretty solid hand with lot of turn equity, but obviously deuce is not the one hand you really want to see it here. So what did villain have? Okay, 9x, so it was absolutely mandatory call. And we have almost nuts on the river. But yeah, let's see if he actually happened to have something to call with. Hopefully he doesn't shove, because that's again kind of an awkward spot. Because no weaker flush should be should be 3-betting anymore. So he's basically saying that he has full house and he can have some of them. Of course, it's perhaps somewhat unlikely he would bet like min bet on the river with it, but it's not totally out of the question. I have seen those type of plays sometimes. I think queen ten suited is actually pretty close here on the bottom right, but I'm not absolutely sure if this is going to be. Yeah, let's go with it anyway. It can't be too horrible, at least. It is kind of interesting spot that could we go for. Check shove. I think I will take the passive line because it's still going to be, I don't know, kind of boards that will then doesn't necessarily bet that wide. Well, we got basically almost free draw chance here, so okay, not going to shove here with king 10. We are quite clearly the second stack at this point. So yeah, we doubled up on the MTT, which was obviously a nice one, and I think we'll then call it here with the pocket 8. Was totally standard. Queen jack suited is such a strong hand that I have to shove it and hope for the best. Let's just complete here and try to get to post up if possible. Well, that flop is definitely best one for the big blind. Not necessarily anymore. Well, he has the most 6x at least, but I mean, this guy can definitely have some AX considering how passively he plays. On the upper right, we have the best hand very often. I don't know how much fold equity we have against this guy. He can have quite a lot of those hands that connect into king jack territory. And just can't complete with the combo draw. Well, pocket jacks we are definitely going for. We don't need to make it that big because this guy is pretty short stacked. And seems like we got action at least. Definitely not folding. We are still in chip EV mode also here, so. Well, I have dropped so many times against kings recently. In every MTT I play pretty much. It's always the kings. Always the damn kings. Well, we are likely stacking off with the pocket threes. And Mr. Small Bet again. Kind of hand that I can't fold right away. I think 7-jack is quite close, but I'm so even stacked with this other small stack that let's just go with it. Check. Oh well. I need to be good like 1 out of 5 times. And yeah, I don't expect to be good that often. Or I mean, not often, but am I good like 1 out of 4 times perhaps possible? Well, let's bet ourselves here. We still have decent flush draw. Of course, he has way more of the straight combos than I have, but let's hope that he doesn't have one. On the bottom left, this is going to be probably, I don't know, maybe a bit outside of the nice range. Well, king queen we have to go with, and happy to check back on the top left and probably have the best hand at this point. But nice that the big stack raised here, so small blind. Of course, small blind is such a player that he might be very often giving me walk anyway. Queen jack is actually kind of close again. I suppose it's probably somewhat plus EV still, but I don't think open folding is big mistake, at least if it is. And pocket threes, I suppose we want to just shove. Again, this is going to be kind of awkward again. We should have a lot of fold equity against the chip leader, and this guy can definitely still fold more than he should be. And on the upper right, I think it's best to check back, and we can give up some of the, because it's so easy for this guy to have something that he doesn't fold on the flop. We probably lost it, but I don't see too much point in bluffing here. 7-3 offsuit. Yep, that is the hand you want to be. That is the hand you want to be playing in that spot. But yeah, definitely value in these games. I suppose I need to take €10 game. Seems like we don't have the bigger ones running at this point. Enough. And king 7 suited I have to stack off here. It's only like 8 big blind deep, so, or 8.5 big blind deep. So I'm always kind of less happy to see those type of non-all-in plays, because they tend to be stronger than the open shove often, but not always. And as default, I don't like to be, well, luckily this guy shoved, so We didn't double up the big blind tier. And luckily I didn't have suited king 10, because that one I would have 3-bet shoved here. And king 7 off on the Nash would be up to 12.4 big blind. So again we are 8 big blind deep. So, and we also have the ante, so I'm not folding. Let's see if he has again, well, not quite a strong hand, but better still than mine. But yeah, sucking out twice is the way to go. And we did get to heads up. I think ace-9 is playing here. Flush draw on the upper right, but we also have the pair. So now the question is, do we want to just check call or check shove? Because he might still be having weaker hand than our. I think I will just go for the check shove. We have so much equity, even if he has better that. And he could easily sometimes have, like, you know, 9, 10 or some ace 5 for some reason or whatever. But unfortunately he has the ace 8, but we nailed one of our outs anyway. Queen 5 suited, I will just go for open shove. It's definitely plus EV. Offsuit I would just open limp usually. And we hit the deuce. Against win bet I would call, against bigger bet. I suppose folding is not horrible, at least. Don't have any backdoor flush draw or anything like that. And would have 3-bet shoved here on the top right. But didn't get change for it. Ace-9 is kind of crappy hand to call if the villain bets, because we don't really want to have the 9x for bluff catching hand. But once he checks, then happily trying to check to showdown. Yeah, he can have so many single pair hands here. The king jack we can min raise call or limp call. That's totally fine anyway. And we lose to crappy ace. Let's go for c-bet on the bottom left. I actually have €50 game already in the registration, but there's just me in the game so far, so we probably don't get another in. Maybe in quote session. So we are quite somewhat even stacked on or at least we were. Now it's a bit bigger gap. Nice hand, but this guy raising, I don't know how much fold equity we have, because he's raising against the big stack, so well, I don't like folding, but just a bit worried about the situation. Yep, and he had big hand. Yeah, with this stack depth, I think I just go for the shove. We only have gut shot on the top left, so, and well, backdoor flush draw, but I'm just going to fold. Just going to fold here. Ace is kind of tricky in the upper right because we saw Villain having the AX on the earlier hand as well, so he can definitely have some of those. On the river, I don't think he's bluffing that much, so I can either check and maybe check call, or I kind of prefer betting myself. I think there is better chance for me to get weaker hand to call than him betting weaker hand. And let's raise. Of course, it's bad if he happens to 3-bet, but usually people are not 3-bet shoving or 3-betting that much when we have this sort of over 20 big blind. Over 20 big blind stack depth. And most of the suited hands we want to play as default. But of course, if the villain has shown a lot of aggression, then we can and should be tightening somewhat and open folding some of the weaker ones is definitely fine. And in here we have decently good 10x, so I will go for check raise. And it's really dry flop, so I will size a bit smaller on the bottom right with my trips as well. And just trying to check to showdown with the king high. Doesn't really make any sense to bluff with that one. Well, let's go for check here. We can turn some equity and go for delayed c-bet like this one. And hopefully he folds. Is jack suited? I don't really want to fold here. I think I don't know. I suppose calling and shoving both has some merit. And yeah, we have got shot, but And decided to go for passive line on upper right. It's extremely dry flop, so don't necessarily want to check raise that much, even if you have strong hand. And let's try to see bet with our gut shot and pretty much no showdown value on the top left. It's kind of an interesting river. Now he bets himself, so not going to do anything here. I think queen 9 we can maybe go for shove for value. Ace queen. And 4 is good. 9 jack is quite close. I would shove 10 jack, 9 jack shooters definitely. And here we could shove wider than usual because the big blind is sitting out, but going for any two would be too much. On the top bottom right, queen is relatively blank card. It's quite tough for villain to have that many queen eggs, so I can definitely barrel again. Like jack would be way more bad one. I could have raised the ace deuce as well, but I don't mind to fold really either. And once again we face, in this case it's definitely mandatory defend. And we totally missed the flop, so on the bottom right, this is actually blind versus blind situation in practice because this guy is sitting out. So with this stack depth, I will go all in with my king 5. Well, unfortunately he has it. But he could be close to any two even in that situation. If he's aggressive one. I don't know, I don't like that much to bet on the upper right in a way that there are so few turn cards that we can barrel with that hand, but of course it's dry flop, so c betting is fine in general. And we nailed the absolute nuts on the top left in dry flops, so this is time to balance our checking range. And he basically shoves, so I suppose he's not folding that much anymore. With 400 more. Of course, if he has total air, then maybe he is, but 8-4. Awesome hand. We might actually be good here on the upper right, but What hand would he take value bet line? Maybe some pocket 8 type of hand. But would he take that with? Of course, he might have occasional 5x. And ace deuce we have to call in the bottom left. Would have been nice flop on the bottom right. I was actually thinking about calling, but it was 5 big blind raise, so kind of nasty to be calling. And that's one of the good sides in open limping to some of these AX hands on the bottom left, that when we get this sort of flop, we can basically go for 2 to 3 barrel value bets even if we don't have much of kicker. Because Willen might think that, yeah, this guy is not going to have AXs, so. And this is actually one of the best bluff combos for us on the upper left, so I suppose even against this guy we probably want to go for it. But he is call happy, so, and fizzy, so I would probably play quite straightforward on the river. Well, we have the gut shot as well, and 2 pairs might be good, but if he bets here, I think I would just fold. If it's decently sized one. Well, it starts to be kind of messy again. Oh, well, like this guy, I can't really fold. We also have the backdoor flush draw, which isn't a huge deal, but it's still something, and he can easily have like 4x and value bet here. Of course, if he continues here, it's going to be kind of more awkward. Now, let's just give up. So I don't think it's impossible that he's still value betting weaker hand here. I wouldn't be totally surprised. And it seems we are going to stack off in the outer table, so this sword stacks out. I made ISO raise, small side, this guy called, and we're obviously happy to stack off here. And I think we won the whole thing. Yeah, I actually don't mind his pre-flop call. I think it was suited check, so 9 check. So I don't mind the call pre-flop, but he should be just calling the flop, especially when I see bet to like. Well, it wasn't empty side, but here still wasn't huge amount of stuff on the side pot anyway, so I'm not going to do that much bluffing overall. And do we get to showdown? No, it's not enough. Quite surprising he doesn't bet the 6 on the flop. But it basically saved us few chips here. Would have been mandatory call on the flop with the bottom pair and gut shot. And on the upper right I will just go for shove. Don't really want to get called if I raise small, and even like inducing isn't that great. Of course if we raise small he might like limp shove some smaller pocket pairs, but we might also induce like something like 9-8 suited or and like that, and it's not really something we want that much. Yeah, bottom right I will just try to check the showdown if possible. This guy has extremely wide range, so I suppose we can try to see bet small and maybe he folds if he has like total air type of stuff. So you never know, he might just decide to call with 8-7 or something. This is actually kind of dangerous situation against this guy because he might be raise calling all sort of stupid stuff, but I still think we make the best play by just shoving, hoping that we have the fold equity and he doesn't like raise call jack 10 off. Let's just check fold on the bottom left. Don't really have that much to going on here. We have some showdown value anyway. This is actually a spot on the top right that we can check sometimes because this is one of the weakest 10x in my range, so we can balance out our checking range by checking some of these type of bit stronger hands as well. But we can't really value bet here anymore, like even if he had like 6x, 5x, it's kind of a scary card with flush draw completing and overcard, so let's just take the safe option and not try to go for really thin value. We are pretty deep against this guy, so I will actually take the free flop. Not risk that he actually is trapping. And he pot size bet here. Oh, well, I can't really fold, but I think, kind of believe that he has something here, so I think I will take the passive option. And in here we actually have double gut shot. kind of similar situation, but I think I will go for the shove. We have the not blocker as well, if that happens to matter something. And really much such horrible line from the villain once again. Well, he was lucky that I had one of the few combos that he's actually not crossed against. This is actually really interesting flop because we have quite a lot of. I think I will go for check raise. We can still fold here. We only have the gut shot, but we can turn some extra equity if he calls. Like if we open flush draw, we definitely want to be shoving most of the time with the added equity. But yeah, I didn't really like the bottom right situation, but having overcard double gut shot, I don't really think I can fold either. Well, that guy doubled up, unfortunately. Interesting spot in the outside table. So we checked the river and now he bets big. I just call here because we don't have that big of a kicker with our trips, so it kind of looks like he has the bluff, or like he's value betting, and good portion of his value bet range with line like that is probably going to be trips actually, so I didn't see that much value in raising here. And pretty small 3-bet, we have a nice playable hand, so let's take the flop on the top left. And upper right I will shove against the limp. Nice hand for it. We have a lot of fold equity usually, and if he calls, there is decent chance that we are still going to be alive with good equity, unless he has nuts that he's for some reason slow plays even. Kind of funny, I suppose. Well, Jesus, what pot odds I get here. Well, that's one way to play your trap. Slow roll, that's the right term. And this guy nicely 4x's, so usually I assume that I have pretty much zero fold equity in these situations, and that's nice scenario when you have one of the best hands possible. Let's hope that he doesn't have better. And he actually folds, which is not bad. We got 5.5 big blind pot without any showdown. So not bad deal. And nice flop with our 8-jack. Not quite as nice turn. How many AXs he has? Suppose we probably still have to shove here. I'm just a bit worried that this card actually completes some straight draws, but we only have about one pot size bet remaining. Well, at least he didn't snap a call. It's kind of nasty to give it a free river either, so. And that was not something to want to see. Nine 6 is, I think, a little bit too weak here. 9-7 I would have solved. And in the outer table, it heads up this guy min raises, so let's just shove with the pocket sixes. And we held here. We also won flip on the other outside table. And we could check here, but yeah. He was trapping before, and maybe he's. I would suppose that I would think that he doesn't limp fold that often here with the shallow stack. This guy is 4xing again, but probably doesn't fold. But we are still like 12 big blind deep, so not the greatest spot to stack off. And once again this guy limps. I think I just have to solve as weak as smallest stack and hope for the best. And this time he's trapping, of course. Yeah, of course it's probably a bit more likely, but it's tough to say. He has been limping so much that I will go for a second barrel here on the top left with our cut shot. And he calls, so once we hit the second pair, it's just going to be a check fold situation. He might still have like 8-7 or something that we beat. 8-5 is pretty close to that. The bottom left is actually kind of nasty situation if we face the 3-bet salvo. Have to fold. Well, because of that, open limping would be reasonable, or even open shoving, but I mean, with 20 big blind, I kind of prefer still to be. King 9 is actually really close. I think it's fine to shove, but this is absolutely bottom of my shoving range from the King X offsuit hand. And I think in the NAS it might be like King 10 off plus, but I don't mind to shove that one. And we are once again middle stack on the bubble. This is still a hand that is actually kind of close. It's so good that I don't really want to be just open folding, but at the same time shoving has such a weak risk-reward ratio, and that 10 was pretty crappy, but we have to call here anyway. At least once. He might be also value betting weaker 2 pairs sometimes. At this time he was actually bluffing. I mean, I really rarely fold turn in those situations because you might be still ahead of the bottom of his value range. He might be bluffing, and you still have 4 outs basically to nuts. So ace king, I will be just shoving. This is actually kind of interesting situation. But I don't really want to just call and give this guy such a cheap pot odds. So of course this shoving has the downside that if button calls, small blind can actually fold a lot of hands, but well, that was, I don't know, like maybe small 4-bet would actually be kind of reasonable, but at the same time, if this guy shoves 10 and the small stack folds, we actually have to fold probably at that point. I don't know. Kind of weird spot. In the bottom right, do we want to turn this one into bluff, or I suppose king high I would just check, but maybe this one we want to turn into bluff. Well, I think we can do pretty much anything with the deuce 3. It's such a small suited connector that even folding is totally fine, in my opinion. You can sometimes mix into 3-betting range maybe, but I would prefer that it would be a bit bigger hand anyway, because deuce 3 doesn't obviously have much of postal playability if we get called. Well, in here we have good top pair in drawy board, so we can definitely go for. Oh, he bets himself. Well, I think we can just shove here actually. I mean, any small raise will be pretty much committing anyway, and it's still going to be really rare overall that he will be ahead, and it's kind of a nasty to just call because so many turns will bring problems. I mean, taking that sort of line with 2 pair or straight is going to be relatively rare, so that's why I think that we are often anyway going to be good here. I think ace 5 we can go for, but yeah, it's actually pretty marginal shove spot. And in the upper right, I will go for check raise. We can definitely have some draws that we would, or some cuts up sometimes that we would be raise folding as well. So let's go for it with the top 2. But unfortunately he folded. I don't know, it seems like we are kind of not getting the games running that greatly anymore. We might be good on the top left, but chances to improve with this hand is kind of non-existent, so I don't mind folding. If he shoves again here upper left, I suppose we need to start limping, and he does. And villain flopping straight on the bottom left. This is not the greatest situation on the bottom left again. We have to fold so often against further aggression. Well, let's go for limp trap on the upper right, and I will just shove here. Some stronger pocket pairs I might also just limp call, but pocket tens get so many overcard flops that it's not one that I really want to be making the passive trap line. I don't love the upper left situation because when he checks check flop, it's usually indication of some showdown value, and well, this smells so much like some sort of pocket checks or 9x. Of course, he might be also bluffing, so folding might be kind of questionable. Let's float with the gutshot backdoor flush draw. If he checks, I will go for kind of smallish, maybe half pot. We could actually check back as well, which I would do with a lot of 6x type of hands as well, and then go for river bet if he checks again. Jack 9 suited, I would just go for open shove here. We can put a lot of pressure on the chip leader as well. Well, unfortunately he calls and nails the ace. Oh well, but I still like the game. Lined here. Didn't work, but that happens. Queen high flush and checking. Nine jack will be a bit too good to be folded, but once he min raises, I like to call here. And has great flop playability. And it's just jack high, so if he c-bets here, we can definitely just give up. And on the bottom right, I just have to call here, so high on my range, and there are a lot of possible busted draws also. But raising doesn't necessarily make that much sense unless we have some read, and it was kind of funny barrel combo. He actually hit this 3 and he still bets. Kind of weird. I don't know about 6-10. We are investing quite a lot of our stack depth, so, and it's not that greatly hitting flops either, so. Min raise. Deuce 8, that's exactly what we want. Well, 9-10 is definitely hand we can. If he min raises, I will make stop and go. And he's actually dominating my hand. Do I want to lead here because they min bet? I don't think they will be betting often, so let's go for lead and hope that they have something to call. And I will probably actually go for shove with the nuts and hope he decides to call. But not this time. On the outside table with lane donk bet, I decided to raise with my queen high, some backdoor stuff. I will show the hand in a moment. So in here with lane made small donk bet, and I just decided to raise. I don't have a huge amount of showdown value anyway, so. And bottom right, this is actually, or bottom left, actually kind of bad flop, but against these players in general, I prefer to just bet and stack off if he wants. I think I will go for smallish bet here and call if he shoves. I mean, he often don't have the queen and such. Of course, sometimes he might have like slow played full house or something. But I suppose it went quite nice when he snap calls with sevens. So I don't know, maybe he would be snapping bigger bet as well. Just guy that you don't bluff at least. If this guy folds, I definitely call, but if he calls, I suppose I have to fold. Really happy to call against this huge whale. And I definitely want to go for 3-bet, but the thing is that if I face shove, it's kind of a questionable spot because we are 70 big blind deep, so I'm still going to be 3-bet folding if this guy makes the shove. And just c-bet folding here. We have a lot of big pocket pairs, so our range is definitely going to be protected. Even if it sucks when he sums when we only have a high. So yeah, I think I actually play these games to end and and quit after that. Seems to be kind of silent day today, so yesterday was pretty nice. There was a lot of really fizzy people. A lot of really fizzy guys. Result wise, I had like a bit over 300 euros, so pretty decent. Just calling here. We also have the queen of hearts, which is nice for many turn cards. Well, have to call. Let's hope that he checks behind now. I think we are pretty often going to be behind here. And at this situation, Queen of Hearts is actually kind of bad card to have. Of course, sizing is again really small, but I just think that we are really often beat. On the bottom left we have top 2, so I will actually go for value bet, even though there is 4 straight on the board. Or gut shot, whatever is called correct term. Not 4 straight in a connected matter, but anyway. This is actually a spot on the bottom left that I think checking back is pretty solid option. We have a lot of showdown value and protection, but it's also a situation where getting 3 street of value at least is going to be really hard usually. I think really almost never has the queen and king should be, well, not very likely, so I think I will still go for value bet here. Well, I was thinking that he doesn't call that much, probably with playing king high, but I didn't really think that he had ace king in his range. Should be such automatic 3-bet, but luckily he didn't go for it, because he would have probably doubled up through me. Let's go for raise on the upper right. We can basically actually go for a bit larger sizing than usual. So we can basically just shove any flop against the sword stack and so on, and probably create a bit more fold equity pre-flop. On the bottom right I would often check if I had spade, but when I don't, I usually prefer making the small bet for equity denial. I think we are actually already on profit. Well, if we lose every table that we have, it's going to be a few euros on minus. But yeah, it has been kind of funny with the with the MTT side. Of course, I haven't played that many of them, but I think like it's like 4 MTTs row that I have, or at least like 4 out of 5 that I have dropped against the kings pre-flop all in. Bottom left might be a bit of questionable defend against 2.5. I think I go for. Yeah, I have a deep enough stack that I can basically still 3-bet fold on the bottom right. Well, looking good on the bottom left. Well, both of them has ace queen and still the ace comes. Awesome. Well, that didn't go too well. Well, timing for that like 3-bet was bad one. I don't mind, we have some bit of blocker value and suited hand will give us a bit more playability. Of course we should be making those moves pretty rarely, but if we only have value hands when we make those moves, then it's pretty straightforward for the villains to be playing, and great spot for shove. Actually, interesting spot here on the bottom right, because we definitely have way more of 2-pair type of hand, and we also block the 7-8, so I will actually go for sizable bet here with the plan to shove the river if he bets, and heart is actually pretty nice as well. And that worked. And then here we just have to go for 3-bet. Yeah, I think I just go for c-bet and stack off if he shows. Of course he can have some pocket pairs, but we still most of the time have the 6 outs. Of course not happy if he shows, but I mean, yeah. I think this is one of course it would be best that we had like ace king of clubs, but Jesus. Oh well, that's the way. 3 outer on the turn. Oh well, just my sort of luck. Just my sort of luck. On the top left, well, I think it was actually linked, but so I suppose we had some showdown value anyway. But yeah, betting is totally fine anyway. Oh Jesus, so nasty. Queen on the turn. I don't know, interesting spot that would he have called me down with the ace queen anyway, or... Oh well, oh well. If he had shoved here, I would actually be forced to fold this one. Well, let's hope that he's not inducing with something better. He definitely has a lot of raise folding range, likely. And pocket 8 I can't really induce, so even though I'm a bit deep stacked, I will go for the open shove. It should still be somewhat plus EV. I would usually float here or raise for a bluff, but I suppose in this stack distribution, and this guy probably doesn't believe me that much, so let's not go for it. I think ace-9 is pretty close here on the top or bottom right. That I think I have to shove it, but it would again be the absolute. I would fold every weaker offsuit ace here. Pretty much. It's kind of funny in my opinion that he open folds on the upper or right table, because I think he could be shoving like any two tier profitably. And this guy wakes up, unfortunately. It seems like we might actually get minus euro session still from this one. Well, it's going to be break even anyway, basically, but of course would be nicer to make even some profit. Profit is still profit. Well, I have best hand almost always on the left table, but can I value bet? It's just so unlikely that he has better hand. Ace 9, if the button shove, we would be forced to fold. And once this guy limps, I will go for the shove, but let's hope that we don't run into better hand at least. Well, we were ahead and we get here in the end. Some justice. And ace-9 suited. I think I just go for the open shove and that's it. On the right table I could sometimes limp as trap, but without having any reads I tend to prefer just open shoving. And if I limp as trap, it will mainly be with the big pocket pairs. Oh yeah. Of course, big blind wakes up with monster. Usual bullshit. Let's use the zoom function for one time. Oh well, quite unlucky. Unlucky last tables, I have to say. And total crap that I have to fold. And well, luckily he didn't shove, so we get plus EV situation at least. And this one will be, we actually also covered, so no need for non-all-in play either. And this should be like any 2 spot for the villain pretty much, but luckily for me he doesn't do it. I also have open shoved this one as well. And this one is close, but I think we should be shoving at least. This seems like a decent player, so he's probably not calling my shove in that spot wide. That's actually something that we could actually take image of and check later. That one is mandatory shove. I think it's plus EV with the 10 jack suited tier, but let's check. And yippee, we got some profit from the session at least. And right away, nuts, practical nuts. And for anyone watching this now or later, you can give feedback to you. Would you want to have zoom function more often in use, or? And now we got nice check raise chance. We have a lot of draw possibilities here. For example, you can, if I had like, let's say 10-5 or something, I could check raise fold that type of hand. If I have some strong draw, I can check raise and stack off, obviously. So in general, you want to think like when you have a draw, that how strong is it and how do you want to play it. If it's kind of questionable, if you check raise and face the shove on whatever you can call or not, then I would often think about taking the passive option and just calling. Because you don't really want to get into kind of situation that, okay, I have like, I would need 32% to call and I have 28% or something like that. So you want to think about it before doing the play. In here, calling is kind of only sensible option. Well, there are huge amount of draws still, but if we call here, we don't have chances to improve, or little chances to improve. Oh, I don't know. Let's just fold. I mean, if you call this sort of hand and the river is blank and villain shoves the river, you kind of need to be mainly calling at that point. You can't be just calling tier and hoping villain shuts down, because your hand doesn't improve. Doesn't improve that often. Well, kind of interesting. Problem is that I don't think that the villain is often folding if I bet, so I think I just prefer to check, and let's see if we get free river. Well, this one will be not her kind of mandatory show. Like if we look about NAS, it would be even up to 20 plus PP. This is actually hand we can go for limp. Seems like I have some connection issues to Unibet servers as well. But yeah, note to myself, restart the router after this stream. It might help for the future. And Jack dose is kind of okay. I think it's actually quite marginal in NAS, but 8.5 big blind in the NAS. I think we had like 8 big blind or something. So this is actually kind of funny because we had the 7-6 previous time and I said about having 10-5 that we can check raise, but now the difference is our stack depth is smaller, so if I had deeper stack depth I would check raise here, but I suppose check shoving makes some sense. Okay. I don't know, folding seems a bit weak, so calling, shoving, probably both reasonable. But when we have like queen high, gutshot and backdoor flush draw, it just, at least to me, it feels a bit weak to be folding flop. Well, we got some profit in the end, not much, but 30 euro. And now the zoom thing is jumping everywhere, but so anyway, I have wrong button, that one. So anyway, thanks for watching and click the like button if you like the content. Yeah, I actually had that one hand that I was going to check, so let's actually do that. Close the client, so there is no, well, I don't think Unibet is following application running that are running at the same time anyway, but so we have 2086, small blind has 1400 and big blind has 6486, 200, 100 and 63, 33. So what the Hold'em resources says. So with the FGS1 ranges, it's going to be quite a lot plus EV still. But you have to note here that the big blind and small blind ranges are actually quite tight, so I think we could realistically widen these somewhat. Still, at least small blind. I don't know about big blind. He should know that I'm not wide here, so maybe this is close. At that point, it would still be somewhat plus EV. If we widen the range a little bit, now it's probably quite break even. So as we can see here, it's not like great spot anyway most of the time, and if you think that the big blind is call happy guy, then open folding is definitely reasonable at least. But yeah, against that guy I still like my shove overall, tiny bit more than folding. So yeah, that was the session for this time, and I don't know, next stream may be coming on maybe Thursday or something. But yeah, bye for now.